Thank you, Madam Speaker. Rising in firm opposition to this bill. Madam Speaker, this is a bill that many of us on this side wanted to work with. There were some great amendments that would have helped us get to yes on this bill. We respect that tenants have rights and deserve to be protected. That's what landlord-tenant law is all about. We understand that there is a balance that must be struck between the rights of the housing provider and the rights of the tenant. Madam Speaker, the vast majority of our housing providers are mom and pop, solo owners of a single home or a small group of homes or apartments, small, local housing providers. A great number of housing providers have scrimped and saved over the course of their life to own an investment and to do the best they can to see that investment flourish. What this bill does is create yet more stacks of responsibility, of onerous burden on landlords to do what they do to provide housing. It is not unreasonable, Madam Speaker, for us to pass policy that is clearly understandable and clearly workable. My concern and my frustration with the bill before us is that the average landlord, the average small local housing provider, will have a hard time within the text of this bill, within the definitions of this bill, being able to understand or justify what reasonable wear and tear is. What is reasonable historic life use of the facility? The refrigerator or the oven. As my friend from the second said, the carpet. Madam Speaker, what this bill does is it creates a greater likelihood of dispute, disagreement, and lawsuit following the close of a tenancy. Because the landlord may say, this was not reasonable wear and tear. This was negligence or abuse. And the tenant may say, this was obviously reasonable wear and tear. And where in the policy of this bill, Madam Speaker, does it give either party clarity and direction in mitigating that confusion or that dispute? There is none. And what will happen is we will subject our housing market to greater and greater legal disputes rather than creating efficiency and effectiveness in providing housing at reasonable costs to those who need it. And is there any mystery on this floor, Madam Speaker, that we are facing a housing crisis? When the policies we pass disincentivizes our housing providers for being in the market, how are we increasing housing supply? When the policies we pass on this floor make it more difficult for mom and pop to know how to handle their relationship with their tenant, how are we helping encourage them to invest even further in providing housing and affordable housing to the people of this state? Madam Speaker, we wanted to work with this bill. There are reasonable elements of this bill that make sense. Yes, justify your costs, but don't charge the landlord for all of the deposit if only one element isn't justified by a receipt. There are reasonable things we could have done to make this a workable policy. Those weren't done. And as a result, I am asking for a firm no vote on this, Madam Speaker. Let's focus on getting housing supply going in this state. Let's help drive costs down, not increase costs, not drive our housing providers out of the market, and disincentivizing people from working long and hard to save and scrimp and make it happen for their families, to own one more little piece of real estate. And instead we're saying, don't give it a shot, because we're just making it more confusing, more difficult, more costly day by day.